I think we're live.
Fantastic. So before we get started, everyone, I thought we'd introduce ourselves.
No,
Um,
if they can hear us first.
yes, and we'll do sound check while we introduce ourselves. So my name is Ibreez, and I currently work as an internal medicine trainee in the United Kingdom. And here we also have,
Ibrahim, I'm also one of the internal medicine trainees in the UK.
yep, and we run Road to UK, which I hope a lot of y'all know about. And we thought what we'd do today is we do a webinar talking about your PLAB journey and what it means
Okay.
from the beginning to the end. Okay? So the way it's going to work is essentially,
Everybody can hear us. If everybody can hear us, then we'll just go turn our camera on and right.
so what we're going to do is we're going to talk through a lot of little things. And if at any point y'all feel that we're talking too much or it's confusing or we're not really making sense of what we're talking about, we're going to hold a live Q&A at the very end. So you can write your questions on the side or you can wait till the very end to ask your questions, but we'll try and get to your questions. If you still have any confusion, you can always check out our blog roll on our website or our group forum for international doctors in the NHS, where we have units that you can see step by step what you need to do for your PLAB journey. And finally, of course, you can check out our Road to UK Academy, which has a bunch of free courses that basically guide you from, beyond apply after your PLAB journey into getting a job, and after that, whatever else you need to do to proceed. So, I think
Should we start?
I think we should start, and I think we start at the very beginning, which essentially would mean your English language proficiency exams, which would either be IELTS or OET, if I'm not mistaken. So what we thought we'd start off with is, how to plan for your IELTS and OET, and then of course, when would be the ideal time to take it. So if you decide to take the PLAB journey, you need to first think about, do you want to take IELTS or do you want to take OET? Whichever exam you take is up to you. But you need to keep in mind both exams have a 2-year validity. So technically speaking, you can take it in your final year of medical school. But you need to make sure that by the time you go to apply for your GMC registration, it's either still valid or, you just retake it. All right? So for IELTS, if you decide to take IELTS, you will need to make sure you get at least a 7 in each module and a 7.5 overall. And there are 4 modules. And then for OET, you need to take the medicine type of OET. You need to get a B in each module and a B overall. Now there is a substantial cost discrepancy between these two exams, and I know a lot of times people are concerned about how many times they might have to take IELTS or they'll take OET. But please keep in mind that IELTS costs about £160, while OET costs about £332. So whichever option you opt for, make sure you prepare well and then go ahead and proceed that way. It's not something that you should take lightly, that everyone says OET is easy, we should take OET, because people have failed OET with that mentality. It's definitely about making sure that you have a really solid approach when you start out. Okay? And I apologize if we're looking down a little bit. It's just because we're also running the cameras, and we want to make sure that everything is saying tickety-boo. But have I covered everything I think about IELTS and
I'll just
OET?
add one thing. I think there is a talk about IELTS for UKVI. There was a talk about IELTS for UKVI previously and how that covered everything related to like the whole pathway, but that is not the case anymore. So I just want to repeat that again. You don't have to take IELTS for UKVI separately anymore because the IELTS that you're taking right now for GMC registration, which is the academic version of the IELTS.
There's a concern about the sound. I'm just double checking the sound.
Okay.
Everyone say the sound's very low and not good. Sorry.
Let me just triple check again. Is the sound better now? I hope it's better. Okay. In my software is saying that it's better. Okay, we'll go back to IELTS for UKVI again. If it's better, please tell in the comment box. Then we'll just take it from there. Okay. So IELTS for UKVI is not needed anymore because IELTS for UKVI was previously planned to take Tier 2 visa because Tier 2 visa only accepted IELTS for UKVI previously. But right now for Tier 2 visa application, you don't really have to take any IELTS again because the question they ask, have you taken IELTS for your GMC registration? So technically, if you have GMC registration, which you will have before applying for visa, which we will discuss in detail today, you don't have to take IELTS for UKVI separately. That IELTS which you took for GMC registration, which is an academic IELTS, will be accepted for GMC registration. At the same time as OET you took for GMC registration, that also goes for the Tier 2 visa separately. So to put plainly, for English language proficiency, for this entire PLAB journey, you either have to take academic IELTS or medicine version of OET. I think that sums up.
Yeah. Okay, everyone's saying that my voice is not clear. I don't know if that problem is fixed now, or if I should just re-say everything, but let us know if the sound is fine now on my end. If it's not, I will restate everything that I've already said. If it is, then we'll rehash everything. But I need to know, otherwise we'll proceed to the next
You
part.
want to put the microphone on your stuff?
I don't see how that would make much of a difference, to be honest.
Let's try and put this in.
But then how would it be much clearer for you? You just keep it where it was.
No, just put it in. Is the sound clear now?
Is that a little bit better? If nobody replies, we can't do much about it.
Exactly.
I'm really sorry. So we're just going to proceed then. I think we're going to start talking about PLAB. And regarding PLAB, so you can only take PLAB once you've gone ahead and finished med school and you've cleared either IELTS or OET with the required scores that we mentioned before. And beyond that, you need to make sure that you've gone ahead and opened the GMC online account. You have made sure that there's availability for your PLAB exam, and then you can book PLAB 1. You have to take PLAB 1 before you can take PLAB 2. You cannot take PLAB 2 before you take PLAB 1. Currently, in most places around the world, PLAB is available in March, June, September, and November. It used to be that PLAB was pretty limited overseas, but now they've expanded in a lot of places. But if you check out your GMC online account, you can see where PLAB is being offered. And of course, you don't have to take it in your country. You can always go somewhere else so long as you have a valid visa to take it there. The cost of PLAB is currently, of making of this video, £239. If any of you all have noticed, they actually increased the price of PLAB 1 this month. But just keep in mind, though, that you do have a GMC online account. After you make that account, you then put in your scores for your IELTS or OET. That's verified, and then you can proceed with booking PLAB 1. Okay. Do we have anything else about PLAB 1?
Have we talked about how many questions in there? What's a PLAB 1 exam like?
So the PLAB 1 exam consists of 180 questions. It is a written exam. You have to bubble in the answers, and essentially what you need to keep in mind within the 3.5 hours that you have to complete the exam is that you are making sure that you're filling in each bubble correctly. There is a chance of rechecking in case you fail PLAB 1, but you have to keep in mind that rechecking does not mean that they will kind of do anything else. They're just making sure that whatever was bubbled in was checked correctly, that like if you actually bubbled A or you actually bubbled B, not anything beyond that. All right. So for PLAB 2, let's talk a little bit about visa, sponsorship, whether or not you need to work there, and how you can prepare, and of course the cost for PLAB 2.
So I'll talk about PLAB 2. Let's start from the beginning. So the PLAB 2, obviously the planning and everything starts after you take PLAB 1. I would say before even you've passed PLAB 1, you should start thinking about your preparation for PLAB 2. And those of you who have to take PLAB 2 from outside UK, they have to come to the UK because PLAB 2 does not happen outside United Kingdom. So the PLAB 2 does not also have a limited time period like like for PLAB 1 there is only in March, June, September, and
March, June, September, November.
November. Okay. So but PLAB 2 doesn't happen like that. So PLAB 2 happens all around the year. So they publish the dates on the GMC online account, which you can only book after you passed PLAB 1. So PLAB 2 happens every day. Maybe there is some PLAB 2 happening today as well. So the PLAB 2 booking, we can only book after you have passed PLAB 1. So before even you can book PLAB 1, I think that the thought needs to be given about your visa application process. So the visa application process, as we have outlined elaborately in our different blog posts, and we help people almost every other day with these questions. I will not go into that for detail how do. You have to apply for the visa, but visa application comes first, and before even you can apply for visa, you have to book the date. So you pay for the date, you book the date, then plan accordingly, apply for the visa, and then come to the UK and take the exam. So PLAB 2 preparation, how long does it take? It's entirely depends upon you actually. We have seen people passing with the preparation of only 2-3 weeks. We have seen people not passing with preparation of 2-3 months. So it's basically understanding the nature of the exam,
Yeah.
like how you have to present yourself, how they want you to be, like a doctor inside the cubicle. And as if you have followed us, like over the past few months, we have been working on making a course, on PLAB 2 preparation, which will be a completely online course, which will include all the stuffs that we have experienced before taking the PLAB 2 and also after joining the NHS and working here for almost 2 years now. So I hope that will be helpful, which is in the works and will be coming out soon. So after the PLAB 2 exam, you don't have to stay basically, because the whole process afterwards, after you pass PLAB 2, after you apply for GMC registration, and the whole process can be done online. So basically, your stay would be preparing and then taking the exam, and then you can come back to your country.
Yeah. And the cost of PLAB 2 is £875, which is also increased from this month, actually from April. So something else to keep in mind with the cost has increased slightly. It's just very slight, but it is something to keep in mind because you also have to think about the expenses for the PLAB visa itself, and then thinking about your sponsor, and then how you're going to go on and proceed. Please keep in mind, a lot of times people ask us if you have to be employed in order to get a PLAB 2 visa. You don't. Internship, I know a lot of times you're not paid, or you're not paid in a sense that a person would be considered employed, but if you have a sufficiently strong sponsor, you don't need to worry about employment. Okay. I think then we're good to move on to our next topic, which is in regards to your EPIC verification. So EPIC verification is something that's been out for the last couple of months. Really, GMC wants to make sure that your medical degree is up to par and that it's been vetted and checked. A lot of you may have heard of EPIC before under its ECFMG banner in the United States or Canada, and I believe Australia does it as well. But really what it entails is that they verify your primary medical qualification, or basically your MBBS degree, your medical degree. So in order to open a EPIC account, it'll cost you $125 US, and then for any verification of a credential, it'll cost you $90. Now, I know a lot of you might be wondering, when should I get EPIC done? Technically speaking, you need to make sure your EPIC is done by the time you apply for GMC registration, but that doesn't mean you can't do your EPIC at any time before that. You can do your EPIC while you're taking your IELTS or OET, you can do it during PLAB 1, you can do it after you pass PLAB 2. It just needs to be done before you apply for your GMC registration, because it's part of your process of your GMC registration application. So that's why we thought we'd put it as something that you would do after PLAB 2, because typically most people do wait until they pass PLAB 2 and then they apply for EPIC. Is there anything else on EPIC that I missed?
Not really. All right.
I'm not sure why no one can hear me.
Is it? I don't know. It's showing the audio is actually going there, and it's also.
I am wearing the microphone, so it's not that the microphone is
No, it should be. It should be off.
I don't know what to do, to be honest.
So nobody can hear me at all. Like, I don't know. Can you please sort this out right now?
I mean, we're getting some people are saying they can hear us, some people are saying they can't hear us. So
Did they start in the beginning, and that's why?
I don't know. See, this
Yeah.
is the problem. So you know what we'll do? We'll just proceed, and we'll just wing it, because we can't just be. We're just wasting time.
No, I just want to 100% make sure. Please, everybody, can you hear us right now? We are almost how many minutes in?
About 15 minutes in.
About 15 minutes in. Can you hear us? Because I am clearly seeing the audio response in my like software is fine.
So we're getting sound is good, then we're getting sound is low. And we're saying some people can hear us clear enough, some people can't. All right, we're just going to proceed. I'm sorry. Because if we're seeing it on our end, some people are saying they can hear us. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that everything's fine. Otherwise, if we spend half of our webinar troubleshooting, we're not going to get anywhere. So let's talk about GMC registration, which is probably the most important thing. After you complete your PLAB exams and you complete your English verification exams, you need to be able to apply for GMC registration. Why don't you
So,
talk?
yeah, you all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll talk about GMC registration. I hope you can hear me. All right. So GMC registration can be applied only and only after you have passed PLAB 2. And for the whole process of GMC registration, you don't need to be in the United Kingdom if you take the PLAB route, because for PLAB, whenever you took PLAB 2, they have done your ID check, they have checked you against your passport and all the other stuff. So basically that has been done and got out of the way. So for GMC registration, the entire process can be done sitting at your own home, applying from your laptop or what have you. So GMC registration, what do we need for GMC registration? So it basically, there's a lot of misconception about the paperwork and all the other things, but basically you need, I would say, one thing actually, because your primary medical qualification has already been verified by Epic and you have Epic number and your file has already been sent to GMC. So whenever you're applying, you just have to supply your Epic number and GMC will have it. So your passport has been checked. So I think the last thing GMC would want is for a verification of your internship. So your internship completion certificate or any paper that confirms that your internship was done under an approved training post. GMC does not require any employment certificate for all the employments that you did. Sorry, there's another thing that GMC wants, is certificate of good standing.
Yeah.
So certificate of good standing is from your medical regulatory board that you register to. Like say, I'm from Bangladesh, so there's a Bangladesh Medical and Dental BMDC. I don't know what C stands for. Council. Okay. So there is a Bangladesh Medical and Dental Council which I was registered to. So I applied there. They gave me a certificate of good standing, which actually covers all the medical work that I did in Bangladesh. So if you are employed anytime, any country, that means you obviously are registered with that country's medical regulatory board. So if you can obtain the CGS for that country's medical regulatory board, you don't need to have any sort of employment certificate or anything. So in your professional experience, you may have like 5, 6, 7 different kinds of professional experience, but your one certificate of good standing basically covering all the medical work that you did in that country. So you don't have to worry about employment certificates at all. But GMC may want you, it's all individual case by case is what GMC wants. But one thing I want to make abundantly clear, that it's a very bad idea to falsify any documents or to not give any experience or anything, just thinking that it will complicate my GMC registration. Please don't do that. If you did something, be truthful, because when you're transparent, the whole application process goes smoothly. I applied for GMC registration. I got GMC registration within 5 days because that's the period that GMC replies back that your registration got approved. Back in our time, I had to attend the ID check, but now you don't. So GMC registration, make it as transparent as possible. Just follow what GMC says. If you are confused to any point that I'm not sure what to do, instead of asking different people and getting confused by different suggestions on Facebook or wherever, please refer to GMC's contact center. GMC has an advisor group. GMC are always open to emails. Like they will take 5 working days to reply to your emails. They have a phone number that you can contact to. You can find ways to contact GMC through the phone as well. So my long way of saying is GMC registration is a very easy process. GMC is not out there to not give you registration. Okay, so if you have passed PLAB 2, you have proved yourself clinically that you are a capable doctor to get GMC registration. Now, the only thing is getting all the paperwork ready. So don't fear GMC, just apply with clear mind and point information.
And then the cost of GMC registration.
You want to go with that?
No, no one can hear me. I think it's better if you just continue.
No.
Yeah, turn it.
It's all right. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and talk about
The cost and
the
everything.
cost of GMC registration. So GMC registration has a fee. You have to pay when you apply for the registration. Uh, uh, the fee for there is a difference between how many years has passed since you have graduated. So if you have graduated, say less than 5 years ago, then the fee for GMC registration is
156.
£156. But if you have graduated 5 years ago, then the GMC registration fee is 406. So £406. So there is a disparity. So think about that cost when you're planning for the entire journey as well. So if you are old graduate, I don't
They
like the
call it
term,
old graduate.
but it's if you're a graduate, if you have graduated more than 5 years ago, your GMC registration is higher.
And then gaps. Just kind of.
All right, yeah, there is another also confusion regarding GMC registration, that clinical gaps. If you have gaps, just state it in the whole list of professional experience that you have to put in anyway. What you did during that time? Were you studying for exams? Was there some family issues that you didn't do anything? Because GMC's that application requires you to put every single day into account when you apply for registration. So for the last 5 years, you have to account for every single day what you did. If you didn't, like before, after my final exams, before joining internship, there was a month or so where I had to do paperwork. I didn't do anything. So I said I was organizing my paperwork for joining internship. After my internship, since actually I applied for registration, I was not working. So I just said I was taking PLAB 1, then from PLAB 1 to before coming to the UK, I was preparing for my visa and all the other stuff. After I came to the UK, before I took PLAB 2, I was preparing for PLAB 2. After PLAB 2, right now, GMC registration, I'm just doing nothing. That's what I said. So you have to divide your time, and obviously you have to say which country you were there. So divide your time accordingly and apply for GMC registration. Clinical gaps is not a problem at all. If you're true to GMC, GMC will find ways. If they need anything, they will ask of you, and you just have to provide that. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Don't falsify anything, essentially. Cool. So after you get your GMC registration, you now have full registration to work in the United Kingdom as a doctor. So what will you do then? Obviously, you'll do the things that you wanted to do, and that was the reason you took the whole PLAB route, and that is apply for jobs. Now, I want everyone to take everything that we say with a grain of salt, because everyone's application process obviously will vary widely because everyone has different levels of experience. But the basic fact of the matter is the United Kingdom needs doctors. I don't know why people say that they don't need doctors. We have, like our hospital, we have an app where they put out the list of extra doctors that they need, like every day. And there, I don't think there's ever a day where they don't say, oh, we need somebody covering this, we need somebody covering that. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be well supported, but they will need extra staff. I mean, there are less doctors to how many people there are in the United Kingdom, and especially because the United Kingdom has what they call a welfare state, or it's socialist, or the fact that there's free healthcare. You have to keep in mind that there's always going to be a need for healthcare staff. So, first things first, you need to wonder about what are the types of jobs you should look for. If you're somebody like we were when we started out, who basically just had internship experience, if you just have internship experience, don't think that means you can't get a job. A lot of times when people tell us that they aren't getting a job, or they've been told they can't find a job with just internship experience, they've been contacting agencies who've told them they can't get a job with just internship experience. But even now, even recently, people are still getting jobs with this. You need to look into finding things like FY2 trust grade, SHO, or junior clinical fellows, junior specialty registrars. These are the titles and these are the names that you should look for in your NHS jobs website to see the types of roles that are specific and most applicable to you. If you're somebody with a little more experience, you can then just check the person's specifications and job descriptions and see what they want. Everything is completely transparent and there for you to see. They even a lot of times will provide an email address if you need to contact somebody from that HR to know what else you need to find out about this job. Do not think that just because you've got some gaps, or it's been a while since you've worked, that you won't find a job. But it may be likely that you'll start a little bit lower than what you had ascertained you would be starting at, just because they want you to have some NHS experience. If you're concerned about how you can make your portfolio or your CV look better, If you're in London, there is a really, really great BLS course at Bart City Lifesavers that I think costs £35, which is pretty inexpensive considering how much BLS costs at other hospitals. But if you just go on the Recess UK website, you can see there where BLS courses are offered. You can, in your home countries, you can do audits or quality improvement programs. You can look on ELFH, you can look on Doctors.net to see about online courses you can do. You can participate in conferences and seminars to show, that you're trying to stay medically relevant. Basically, whatever time that you have where you're waiting maybe for your DMC registration or your PLAB 2 results, try and be as proactive as possible. It's just a matter of showing that you are willing to try and make up for any sort of clinical deficit that they may perceive. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you just have, internship experience and nothing else that you can't find a job, but you have to be very diligent in finding jobs. You need to see when those jobs close, what their closing date is. If a job's closing date is 2 months away and all the jobs that you've applied for have similar closing dates, you can't say then that they're not jobs, because if the job hasn't closed, how will they, vet the applications? People will apply for 200 jobs, some people will apply for 400 jobs. It's just on you. You should also make sure that whatever you want to do in the future is the type of job that you are applying for. If you want at some point to go into obs or gynae, it doesn't really make sense for you to look for jobs in medicine. One job I think if anyone wants to start off in, despite whatever specialty you want to proceed with, it would probably be A&E or emergency medicine, just because it's very front door. It gets you hands-on experience in a lot of specialties. We started out in A&E, and we did stuff that people in trauma and orthopedics would do. We would see pregnant women, we would see children, we would see really critically ill patients who would then maybe go to medicine or surgery depending on the nature of their presentation. So if you're even unsure about what kind of specialty you'd like to specialize in the future, A&E is a fantastic place to start. It is a little more hectic than your normal day-to-day kind of ward job, but if it's something that you want to do, I would highly recommend starting out in emergency medicine. If you're still really confused about how to apply or what you need, we do have a free course in our Road to UK Academy about applying for jobs in the NHS, and it's something that we would recommend you check out because it can really help you reassess and reevaluate your job application, especially if it's been a while since you've done that. It's really important to tailor and tune your application to what they're asking for. You can't just give a blanket application to everyone, especially if their person specifications are significantly different, from one job to the next job. And I think that kind of covers everything about the job hunt. And these are all obviously going to be non-training jobs, because we do recommend you start off in a non-training job before proceeding into a training job, just because it's a really good way for you to understand the NHS infrastructure and what goes where and how it's done, rather than going into a training job where you also have the added responsibilities of a portfolio and things involved with training, such as going to certain teachings and conferences. You can still do a lot of these things as a non-trainee in order to proceed and get your FY2 competencies or your CREST form signed off. And I think it's just better for everyone to take it slow in the beginning rather than just jumping in head first and starting a training post.
Yeah, and that also includes applying for FY2 standalone posts and everything as well.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But I mean, if you've already done a non-training job and you can get your CREST form signed off, we don't usually recommend people to then do an FY2 standalone. But it's up to you. If you feel that you need that extra year before going into training, then by all means do it. Okay? So after you get a job, after you're set and you have taken a job offer that you're happy with, what you have to apply for then is your work visa or your Tier 2 visa. So this visa has gone through a lot of changes in the last couple of months, especially because the United Kingdom has now made all of our jobs under a shortage occupancy list, which means we have to pay less, and obviously we can now apply for a lot of specialties and training as well in the round one, versus when before you had to wait for the re-advert, or for certain specialties you could even apply for round one initially. So the cost of your Tier 2 visa as a shortage occupancy is £464, and that's just for you, the main applicant. We're going to first talk about somebody who's coming by themselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit more if you have dependents. So if it's just you on your own, you're going to have some documents that you're going to need to provide. One of them, the most important one essentially, is your certificate of sponsorship, which will come from your hospital that says, this and this doctor is going to be working for us under this title with this salary for this duration, It has all of your information, your passport information, where you live, and all the other relevant information that basically will be asked from you once you confirm a job with someone or with a hospital. So this certificate of sponsorship is coming from a hospital or a trust, okay? You'll also need to provide, depending, I mean, this can vary from person to person, but what you'll also need to provide is TB clearance or tuberculosis clearance. Individuals who come from countries where tuberculosis is considered endemic need to provide a certificate to show that they do not carry tuberculosis. If you are someone who hails originally from a tuberculosis endemic region, but you've been living outside of that region for 6 months, a minimum of 6 months, and you've not gone back and stayed there for a minimum of 6 months, you do not need to provide one. So let me give you an example. If you're from a country that is endemic, okay, but let's say you then move to a country that's not endemic, and you've lived there for at least 6 months, and then you apply for your Tier 2 visa, you do not need to provide a TB clearance certificate. If, however, you are from a country that is endemic, and you just come for your PLAB 2 exam for a couple of months and then go back, you need to provide one because you've not stayed away for that duration or period that is considered sufficient. The reason for this is they believe in that 6-month period, if you're carrying TB, you will present with features, and they just need to make sure you aren't presenting with features with the test they do. All right? So that cost can vary from country to country, but you also need a police clearance. And this cost can also vary from country to country. Now, a police clearance is required of you from any country where you've stayed in for at least 12 months, and these 12 months do not need to be consecutive. They can be even that you stayed for 3 months or 4 months, but it totaled up to 12 months over the last 10 years. Okay, you need to provide a police clearance certificate from those countries. So, for example, for myself, I had to provide a police clearance certificate from the United States because I live in the United States and I'm an American. But because I went to medical college in Bangladesh, I stayed in Bangladesh for 5.5 years for medical college. That means I was there for more than 12 months. I had to provide a police clearance certificate for the United States and for Bangladesh. But Ibrahim, I think you only had to provide one for Bangladesh. So that could just be the thing for you. I mean, it varies from person to person. If you travel a lot and in that time of those 10 years, for some reason you were in another country that totaled up to 12 months, you have to provide a police clearance. We have discussed this extensively in our blog post, but there are sometimes situations where you cannot get a police clearance certificate, and these need to be explained to UKVI as to why you cannot. It could be that for some reason something terrible has happened in your country and there is civil unrest, which is a case for some people, or you cannot go back because those countries require you to have a working permit to come back, or somebody cannot get it for you, and it needs to be a family member who can get it for you. But whatever the situation, you just need to explain it to UKVI. So with that, you also have to pay a fee, which is known as your health surcharge. So this health surcharge, along with paying for the tax and the national insurance within the United Kingdom, you have to pay essentially a fee so that you can use the healthcare system for free. So, you know, going to the GP or going to the hospital, getting in an ambulance, all of that is covered. Currently, this fee is £400 per year per person. All right. So, I mean, really, when you think about it, the cost of the Tier 2 visa being £464 and then £400 for the IHS fee, you're looking at already about £900 for your visa application, and then of course whatever associated fees come with your police clearance and your TB clearance, not even taking into account then the cost of the ticket to come to the United Kingdom, and then of course accommodation in the United Kingdom. Now let's talk about if you want to bring family with you. So the United Kingdom allows you to bring your dependents with you if you are a main applicant. So what that means is your dependents are your spouse and your children. That's it. I know it's really hard to hear, but your parents, unfortunately, your siblings, unfortunately, are not considered dependents. Your dependents are your spouse and your children, and when I say children, I mean children under the age of 18. You may have older children, but they are not considered dependents. So you would apply for them as well when they come along with you to the United Kingdom, and hopefully on your certificate of sponsorship, they have ticked for maintenance. Maintenance essentially states that for the first month of your time in the United Kingdom, your hospital will cover any sort of costs. In reality, very few hospitals give you any money, but if they don't tick that, you need to show some money in your bank account for yourself and for your dependents. So if it's just you that's applying, you need to have at least 945 pounds in your bank account. But for each dependent that you have, you need to have 630 pounds. And it needs to be a stable income that's been in the bank account for a good amount of time. Sometimes you're not able to amass that money, and that's why we always suggest you see and make sure that the individual that you're, or the hospital that you're getting your certificate of sponsorship from is a A-rated sponsor. If your trust is an A-rated sponsor, they must tick maintenance for you, and then you don't have to worry about keeping any money in your bank account. If unfortunately there have been situations when parents haven't been able to show as the bank accounts for your Tier 2 visa, but we would recommend contacting UKVI about this because it's not super common, and they really do prefer that it's you as the main applicant. Because their concern is if you don't have enough money and you come to the UK, even though you have a job for that first month,
how do you survive?
How will you survive? Essentially that. But I think we've kind of covered all the little nits and bits about the Tier 2 visa. Have we not? Have I forgotten anything?
No, I think the Tier 2 visa portion is the one that I think I'm too loud. Okay. So the Tier 2 visa portion is the one that you have to think about the most amount of money that you need, because you'll have to travel, you'll have to apply for the visa, you have to apply for the IHS if you're taking your dependents with you. So I think if you're planning for costs, that is the most crucial time that the cost will actually hit you, because until GMC registration it's about you, but after you got the job and you are traveling to the UK, if you're taking your family with you, that's a huge amount of cost that you have to think about. Probably that's you should keep in mind. So I think we can wrap the whole thing up.
Yeah.
You want me to wrap the whole thing up?
I think we'll go ahead and take y'all's questions now. So any questions
before the questions, I just want to wrap the whole process up, like what we talked about. As we can see, if it is you who are watching the video right now is interested in taking or making a career in the UK, the first thing you have to think about is taking an English language proficiency exam. Please bear this in mind. If you think about anything else, that's not your first priority. Your first priority is English language proficiency. Please don't waste your time finding ways to evade this, because even if you don't take PLAB, even if you take MRCP, MRCS, or any other route that is beyond our today's discussion, you have to take IELTS or OAT if you have graduated outside UK or EEA. So that is a given. So IELTS and OAT, prepare for that. After the IELTS and OAT, when you have cleared IELTS and OAT, only then you can book for PLAB 1. So after you've taken PLAB 1, only then, after you passed PLAB 1, only then you can book PLAB 2. After you have passed PLAB 2, you can apply for GMC registration online. After you get the GMC registration, everything is done. You can apply for jobs online. You can even get interviews via Skype. You don't even have to be in the UK to get a job interview or attend a job interview. Even many of the interviews have been done by the Skype if you just request. So after you applied to, you got GMC registration online, you applied for all the jobs online, you got even interview online. So after you finalize the job, you'll get a certificate from your employer. With that certificate, you have to go to your country's visa application center, and the whole application process of visa is also online. So you apply for the visa, and then you come to the UK and start working. I think within like 6 sentences, I can sum up the entire PLAB journey.
Yeah, and really, guys, it's very easy to be dissuaded because somebody might tell you something. But even if you are very confused and you don't think that the information we're providing is necessarily 100% correct, the GMC website is there. You can see everything laid out very plainly, what you require and what you don't require. Do not be led astray by people who say that, oh my God, I've heard this, I've heard that, it's really difficult, it's really hard. We have no, gain from telling you guys otherwise. Honestly, it's not like somebody's paying us on the back and saying, hey, bring doctors here. No, to be perfectly honest, it's really disheartening sometimes to see people actively dissuading individuals who are trying to come to PLAB and do PLAB, and then we know those same people who are doing the discouraging are trying for PLAB themselves. So this isn't something that we all need to be overly competitive about. It's about giving and taking, and knowing whatever knowledge you have can help somebody else, because it's really, at the end of the day, we are doctors, and the fact that we're doctors means that we should be helping others. It doesn't just mean helping our patients, we should be helping our colleagues. All right, getting off my soapbox. Let's take any questions that you all have. I'm going to go through and see what questions you all have asked earlier, and in the meantime, if you guys want to ask some more questions, we will try and wrap everything up in the next 20 minutes or so. Okay? So somebody has asked, can you please tell me about ECFMG and how it's different from EPIC? It's not. EPIC comes under the banner of ECFMG. It's really the same thing. Usually in the US, you'll hear people talking about ECFMG more than they will talk about EPIC, but EPIC is essentially the verification process for your ECFMG certification. You get your EPIC done, that means you have your primary medical qualification verified, and then you can proceed with GMC registration. Okay. How strict are they about internship requirements, and do they consider gaps? I know Ibrahim talked a little bit about gaps already, but if I had to make it in sum, they are very strict about their internship requirements. You must meet their acceptable internship criteria. If you look on the GMC website, they basically tell you if you don't meet the requirements for the basic internship, the 12-month internship, they want you to do something outside of that. And they have a route for the 2-year postgraduate kind of, it's not really internship, it's basically 2 years of postgraduate work that they will take into consideration. But you need to remember that it still has to meet the criteria that they've set out. Sometimes people message us and say, well, I only ever did medicine during my internship, and unfortunately that is not going to be meeting GMC's criteria. So if you're still a final year medical student and your medical college allows you to choose the rotations that you have for your internship, please first see what GMC has written out so that you know you're exactly following GMC's criteria for an acceptable pattern.
Just from my memory, GMC's criteria is if you're doing 12 months, then out of those 12 months, 3 months minimum have to be in medicine or allied, and 3 months have to be minimum in surgery and allied. So basically, you have in 12 months, if you divide in 3 months block each, so you have 4 blocks. So in those 4 blocks, you have to do, I think one of is medicine and allied. So I don't know, if you do obstetrics and gynae comes after
Under surgery.
surgery. So if you do pediatrics, that comes under medicine. So you just have to mix and match if you have the option to do so. But where I came from, we didn't have any options.
It already met the criteria.
It already met the criteria, and I think many of the countries has that as well. Right.
Yeah. The next question is, how long do we have to wait after PLAB 1 in our home country to get a PLAB 2 slot in the UK? So this really, really varies. Obviously, right now, everything's kind of in limbo, what with the pandemic. But I think when we took it, and I know it's been a long time since then, ideally, I think in 2 or 3 months you can find a PLAB 2 slot, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
It really depends. Some people will book more in a certain time of the year than other times of the year. Some people will, cancel their exam and a booking will come up sooner. So it's just about you being really, really proactive and vigilant about what dates are available, and then booking as soon as you find an available date that works for you. Don't wait on dates to come available. Just book and then go with it. I think that's just.
No, I think at the same time, is the question about when to book PLAB 2 or how's the
No,
possibility?
how long you have to wait for.
Okay, so
yeah.
That's the more pertinent question would be, when are you prepared to book PLAB 2?
Yeah.
Because you have to think about your visa application and all the other stuff. So just because there is availability, you just can't book it if you are not prepared to apply for a visa. You haven't gathered all the evidences or have made a proper visa application. If it's not ready, then booking a PLAB 2 would actually complicate the whole thing, because what if you get rejected a visa? Then what? You know what I mean? So you have to have that fail-safe in your mind before you book PLAB 2 after you pass PLAB 1. And hurrying is not a good idea.
Exactly. Slow, steady wins the race.
Yeah.
The next question is about the pass rate for PLAB 2. If you go on the GMC website, they have a whole table about your pass rates for PLAB 1 and PLAB 2. I think from 2015 to 2019, you can see how many people sat for the exams and how many people passed and how many attempts it took people to pass, if that was the case. But I don't know off the top of my head.
It's all in the GMC's website.
Yeah.
If you just Google PLAB 2 pass rate, they have a PLAB pass rate option, whole area where you can see the rates.
They've got it all laid out really nicely. Is PLAB going to convert into UKMLE? Well, actually, it'll convert into UKMLA, but right now GMC has said that they will do that in 2023, and that'll be for everyone. UK graduates and international graduates alike will have to sit for the UKMLA. They're going to start rolling it out in 2023 as far as we know. But of course, keep an eye on GMC's website to see if they'll do that, because they had said previously it would come out in 2022, but they went ahead and added another year. Whether or not they'll still do that, we don't know. What we do know, we've written about in our article about what the UKMLA is about, but as far as we know really for right now, is that it's not going to be a written exam, it'll be a computer-based exam. Okay?
And also there will be only 2 parts.
Yeah,
but what will be the cost?
They haven't said anything. Is PLAB acceptable during the gap? I mean, you can take PLAB, and if that's the reason that you have a gap. When you complete your GMC online application, there are some drop-down options. It has stuff like vacation and studying. You can just choose that. You were either on vacation or you were studying. I mean, so don't think the GMC is going to get mad because you prepared for an exam. People have to prepare for an exam. Everyone has that kind of gap.
Exactly. And I would say, and also if you have taken 1 year clinical gap or 2 year clinical gaps when like a lot of our female doctors say that they're pregnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's completely natural. Like, nobody expecting you to work when you're pregnant. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
All right. Next question is, how much does the travel visa cost in the UK? And then tier 2 visa cost. Tier 2 visa cost we mentioned, but the travel visa, if I'm not mistaken, the cost of the UK travel visa can vary from country to country, especially if you're a country that doesn't need a visa, then you have no cost. But how much did yours cost, Ibrahim?
I think I remember it costed around.
I want to say like 110 pounds.
Yeah, around that, I would say.
That's from Bangladesh.
I think the visa fee was something less than £100, but there were some other fees associated with the visa application center. So together, if there is any Bangladeshis watching, it costed me around 11,000 to 12,000 taka. So I don't know whether that has changed, but I think there is a standard visa fee, which is in pounds, but it gets converted into the country's currency, and you have to pay according to that amount. Like even though they don't follow the foreign exchange rate, they have their own rate, so they give you an amount. You know what I mean? I think it's not more than £100 for a 6 months visitor visa.
And just to make another point clear, if you're from a country that doesn't require a visa, you can come and take your PLAB exam on that visa. You don't have to apply for anything. That visa is essentially in the same scope as the PLAB visa.
The only thing you can do as a visitor visa is you cannot work, and you cannot study in an organization. Like, you cannot go to university and study a course when you are on a visit visa. But you can take 1-day courses like basic, life support. Mm-hmm. You can do that course. Even if you do intermediate life support, those courses you can do on a visit visa or whatever.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about anything like that. You can do a clinical attachment on it too.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
You really wanted to.
Yeah, you just can't work.
You just can't work, like actually get paid and work. All right. If GMC is directly verifying our primary medical qualification by contacting our college and university, should we create an EPIC account and go for verification again? So you have to create the EPIC account and upload your verification there. Your documents there for the verification by a notary cam. GMC obviously will still contact your medical college, but this whole process needs to be done because that's how GMC knows it's you that's done it. So I know a lot of colleges are on an ECFMG register, but that doesn't mean that your primary medical qualification doesn't still require verification. I hope that makes sense. I know it's really confusing because it's not something that the UK has ever required in the past, but it's just a matter of getting the verification done. If you've already gotten your primary medical qualification verified in the past, maybe you took USMLE or you took the Canadian exam or the Australian exam, you don't have to go through the entire process. It's clearly stated on their EPIC website what you need to provide at that time, but you will most likely need to create an EPIC account.
What's the next question?
I'm trying to see. What is better, IELTS or OET? That is up to you to decide.
I haven't taken OET.
I have not taken OET.
So we can't actually say how easy or difficult OET is.
I will say, a lot of times people say I'm biased when I say IELTS is pretty straightforward just because I naturally speak English and I've grown up speaking English. But really, I know some people who I went to school with who would have failed IELTS because IELTS is not the type of exam that you just, if you're really fluent in this language, you'll pass it. Do not think that's how you will pass IELTS.
But I think the most difficult portion, I would say, when I prepared, is writing. So if you are not as fluent as Ibreez is, the thing is, please emphasize on your writing because that's a really common thing to slip up. That happened to a lot of doctors and friends and colleagues that I have known, 6.5, 6. and they couldn't improve. And also in OET, I think I hear a lot of people slip up in speaking as well, because you have to consult with the patient, and they also judge how, because in IELTS you have to just talk about a topic and stuff,
Yeah.
but in OET you have to writing, you have to write some reference letters, and if I'm not mistaken, in speaking you have to speak to a patient and all the other stuff. So I think that's really medical, but at the same time it's English language test. So you have to have that confidence, you have to have that uh, uh, preparation behind before you take this exam. So whether you take IELTS or whether you take OET, it's really up to you.
We do have an article talking about IELTS and OET and how you can prepare. I also have a video where I talked about my tips on how to prepare, because like Ibrahim said about the writing portion for IELTS, it's about being structured. You could have all the great vocabulary, you know, all the big words and all that stuff, but if your structure doesn't make sense, you can't just be saying photosynthesis and expect, you know, to pass. Yes, alrighty, let's see. Okay. I got my registration last month. I can't see a lot of jobs. Is it because of the lockdown? The lockdown has obviously put a bit of a damper on the job availability. But if you go through our course, we have discussed about how you can get the kind of jobs that you need to be looking for directly in your email every week.
Every day.
Every day, actually.
Every day.
Every
You can
day.
set I have an email alert every day where I get like 30 new jobs added. Obviously, my alert is on for only medical jobs and only FY2 and ST3 level, FY2 to ST3 level. So every day I'm waking up with 30 new different jobs. Basically, I still kept the alert after I made the course,
Yeah.
just so that I can help other people that I know with the job advert situation, and that is all explained how to turn that on in our applying for jobs course.
We're
Just
also
check that out.
trying to on our Facebook page. We're trying to put at least one job a week that we think is a really good job to start off with, and that's relevant. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Like our page.
Yeah. What about clinical observership? Some courses like ALS, you can do a clinical observership or an attachment while you're here after your PLAB 2 exam. We wouldn't recommend doing ALS because you can do ALS once you start a job, and the job will cover the cost.
ALS is costly.
It's very expensive. Depending on where you go, it could cost between 350 to 500 pounds, while BLS just costs about 30 to 50 pounds. So if you want to invest in something, we would recommend investing in BLS.
You can invest in ILS as well.
But yes. But please make sure that these courses are Recess UK certified. If you do them in your home country, most likely they won't be accepted. Go on the Recess UK website and see which courses are accepted. Do not waste your money, okay? It's really bad. We've heard a lot of people who have unfortunately put in money in it. It didn't count, okay? I feel like I'm losing some of the questions. All right. Is it better to take PLAB right after MBBS and complete the entire process by internship, or do some honorary training in Bangladesh? Everybody, I'm going to let you answer that one.
All right. So yeah, the thing is, your internship, to be accepted, it has to be continuous. So you cannot basically take PLAB 2 during your internship. So that's a no-no. So you can take PLAB 1 because PLAB 1 happens in Bangladesh, or whichever country you're from, if PLAB 1 happens in your own country. So you don't have to skip your internship to go and take PLAB 1. You just have to take one day off. So PLAB 1 can be taken during internship. PLAB 2 has to be taken after your internship because you need a continuous internship. So now if you want to take PLAB 2 after 1 month, if you plan that accordingly, that you completed your PLAB 2, you applied for registration in your country, you got your registration, then you're on a plane, came to the UK, practiced for 1 month, took PLAB 2, no problem at all. But if you want to get more experience in your country because you want to show the clinical experience before you apply for jobs, that's also well and good. If you want to do honorary training or any sort of clinical experience before you take PLAB 2, that's also very good, looks on you, good on your portfolio, good on your job application, that when you're applying for job in your employment history, you can talk about, like, I did internship there, then I worked as a honorary medical officer, which basically will be an FI2 level job in this department, and that consultant that you work under could be a referee as well. So that also works. So I have known I haven't worked after internship, but I have known other colleagues who have done honorary training for 6 months. But do finish your honorary training, because if you come without finishing it, that actually has no value because you don't get the certificate if you don't complete it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the process to apply for a clinical attachment, you have to contact the HRs of whichever hospital that you want to apply at, and they'll send you the form. There may be a cost associated. It might be free if you're lucky. but typically there is a cost associated with it. All right. Um, and then, if someone's contract expires and they're unable to find another job at the time, what can he do? I've never heard of that happening.
But
Yeah, like yeah.
So say for example, I started my non-training job in July 2018, and it was supposed to expire on July 2019. So what happened is, by the time it's July 2019, I should not wait until it's July 2019, should I? So before my job expires, at least 3 to 4 months before, I have to actively start looking for jobs. Either in the same hospital, talk to the HR whether they will give you an extension. If they say no, we don't have any more vacancy and you have to leave at July 2019, then you have to look for other jobs in NHS jobs website. So if you're actively working in the NHS at a post, I have not come across anybody who could not find any other jobs. So you will have to think about doing the job. But if in a very hypothetical scenario you don't find any job, then you just have to leave.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing though, because you cannot. There is a cool down period.
2 years.
2 years of cool down. 2 years? Are
2
you sure?
years.
So 2 years you cannot again come back to work in the
Is it 1
UK.
year?
I think it's a 1 year.
Maybe
I'm not
it's 1
quite
year.
sure.
But really, I mean, if you can't find another job, your hospital will give you an extension, and if your hospital doesn't give you an extension and you can't find another job, your visa will effectively run out. You'll have to leave the country. It's as simple as that.
But that never happens.
No.
You will find a job.
Yeah. I mean, when we were finishing up our non-training job and we told them, we put in our notice that we're going to go into training, they were like, can't you stay? Which again proves how many people they actually need to work here. Alright, do we have to apply for FY1 or FY2 after GMC registration, or can we directly apply for CT or ST training? We don't recommend directly applying for training just because there's a lot of stuff going on with training. Technically speaking, at a non-training level, you actually have the same job responsibilities when it comes to the day-to-day and clinical duties. But a trainee also has to think about keeping their portfolio happy. They have to do things, maybe audit-wise or quality improvement-wise that they have to keep balanced. Their conferences and teachings that they have to keep on their plate. They have to meet with their educational supervisor and their program directors. So it's just a lot if you don't know what your job would entail right when you start out. When you start out as a non-trainee, you can see what the trainees do, and then you get an idea. That doesn't mean that people haven't done it. It's just we don't really recommend doing it.
So just to clear the confusion, FY2 can be a non-training level as well. Even CT1, ST1 can be non-training level as well. So in NHS jobs, you will see another term which is thrown around called SHO. So SHO is called Senior House Officer. That Senior House Officer basically previously was the entire core training, was the House Officer training. So they used to be called SHO, and FY2 and everybody was called Pre-Registration House Officer, so PRHO. So initially a doctor was PRHO, then they got registered, they became SHO, after SHO they became Register, after Register they became a consultant. So that was the previous terminology. But right now the terminology is FY1, FY2. These are foundation doctors, and then CT1, CT2, CT3, and ST1, ST2, ST3. So ST3 or above are registrars, CT1 and CT2 are SHOs, I would say junior doctors.
Yeah.
So we started as a CT1 level non-training doctor. So we didn't start as an FY2 doctor. We were started as a CT1 level non-training doctor. So if you want to do that, I don't want to be a junior doctor. I just want to be an SHO. You have to find those jobs which will be advertised in NHS jobs, and it will say that it's a CT1 equivalent. It will say it's an FY2 equivalent, because this equivalency is important because it differs in pay.
Yes.
So if as a CT1, you'll get a bit higher pay than an FY2. But essentially, as Ibreez said, it's the same kind of job as a junior doctor that you will do in a ward.
Yeah, and I have talked about our experience of how we applied for a CT1 non-training level job in another video. If you just look in our video section of our channel, you can see it's about how to apply for jobs in the NHS and the interview, and how to do well in your interview. I talked you through the entire process, okay? Another question is, how is WAST helpful for IMT? Is it a better option than non-training jobs? So for those of you that don't know, WAST is the Widening Access to Specialty Training. Essentially, it's a 1-year junior doctor level training. You're about an FY1 to an FY2 equivalent, and it's usually in a community setting while you'd be doing rotations in places like psychiatry or GP. It's mainly geared for those who want to do psychiatry or GP as a training, but that doesn't mean you can't do it if you want to do something else. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it. We didn't. We started as a non-trainee. We got our FY2 competency sign off, and then we applied for internal medicine training. So you can do that too. Do not think that you have to do an FY2 standalone or WASP to proceed into training, because there are equivalent competencies. And because they are equivalent competencies, there aren't any extra points for doing it via, FY2 standalone or via WASP. It's exactly the same.
Because the FY WAST and non-training, both they will have to target for CREST signing. So it's nothing different of WAST or non-training job. But in WAST, you basically don't know where you will go. But in non-training, you are applying for a specific job in a specific hospital. If you get in, then you get in.
Yeah, you're ranking specialties. You're ranking locations again for WASP and for your FY2 standalone. And you might not have a lot of choice about your rotations for that reason, but obviously in a non-training job, you are applying for jobs that you are wanting to take. Okay? What duration does it take from non-training to a training job? It's up to you. Obviously, you need a minimum of 3 months if you want to get your FY2 competency signed off. And if you don't meet the person specifications, I think that's what you were going to say, about having 1 year of experience after internship. This 1 year of experience does not have to be UK experience. It can be from back home. But if you don't meet that requirement, you just basically look at the person specifications in the job description.
But I would say, generally speaking, to understand the whole NHS structure and to know about how the training would be, how much the training application would feel like, and all the other things, I think 6 months to 1 year is definitely necessary for a non-training job to complete. And then you will actually able to gather all the information that you need to know while you're working here for your training application, like whether you have to do any courses relevant. Because just imagine if I go to another country and want to start training directly, because the thing is, in many countries, they don't have any idea of non-training job, and that's why everybody has to start as a trainee doctor. But that's not the case in England, in the United Kingdom. So there is a very good option of doing a non-training job where you are basically master of your own portfolio, where you can guide yourself to do things and at the same time have the same job at the same money and everything. Why don't do it and understand? Because before even coming to the UK, did I know like how the hospital was in Plymouth? I didn't. But when I started working in the NHS in a small town in Scunthorpe, I asked people, where's the training good? How's the training? Because you can't reach those people in Facebook. They're working with you, they're consultants and all the other things. So when you start working, have a foot into the system, only then you can gauge the whole process of where the training will be good if I want to be a cardiologist, where the training will be good if I want to be a neurosurgeon. First come here and then speak to the relevant people and then decide and apply for training. Why rushing into training?
Yeah, that basically sums it up. The place for the BLS course that we went to, at least, is BART City Lifesavers. It's in Barbican in London. It's very beautiful out there, but it is £35. But like I said, check out the Recess UK website, because it's not the only place, obviously. Alright, sorry, just make sure we're not skipping through anything. I think we've answered some of the other questions already in the process of answering the earlier questions. But let me just make sure. If you guys have any other extensive questions related to this financial sponsorship regarding the PLAB 2 visa, we do have a whole post on it, just because everyone's case is really different, but we talk about what your sponsor needs and what's considered to be a good sponsor. Alright? And then a lot of people are asking about accumulated. I think we've touched on that. And taking your spouse immediately with you after getting a job, yes, they are your dependent. You can apply for them as you are the main applicant and they will be your dependent, and you can apply for them at the same time. If they want to come later, they can also come later. We've had friends do that. It's not a big deal. Alright, students from Pakistan clear their final exams and graduate in the month of February. Start their internship in June, while the applications for FY1 open 6 months before that. Can they apply for FY2? So there's a little bit of confusion in what you're saying, in that if they've already done their internship and then their internship meets the acceptable criteria set out by GMC, they don't need to worry about FY1. And I'm assuming that you're talking about the UK foundation program, UK's internship. If they've already done their internship in Pakistan and it meets the criteria, you don't have to do it again here. They can apply at a non-training level for FY2, SHO, CT1 level. They don't have to wait. Non-training jobs are available year-round to apply for. It's just training jobs that have a specific time.
Yeah.
Okay. How to take parents. You can't take your parents, unfortunately. They can come on a visit visa, but they are not considered dependents. Like we said before, your dependents are your spouse and your children must be under the age of 18. Alright? Will gaps after internship be an issue when applying for GMC registration? It may or may not be, but for the most part, really, if you explain your reason for your gaps, GMC's happy. Everyone has gaps. We had gaps after our internship because we went and did PLAB 2. Then we had to wait for our, jobs and get everything squared away. I have a video talking about that, about breaks in clinical practice that you can check out. But really, it's very important that you do not lie to GMC. Just don't lie, and they're happy. They're not the enemy. Okay. I heard NHS is getting saturated. Jobs won't be available within the next 1 year. Please tell me who said that and what crystal ball they have, because I would like to look into that crystal ball.
These are the things that we try to. Okay, I'm not saying, or Ibreez and I, none of them are saying that the jobs will be handed to you the minute you came out of PLAB 2, or you will have a job right after you get your GMC registration. It's not like that. So jobs will not be handed to you. I want to make this crystal clear to all the thousands of people that are watching this video. Jobs will never be handed to you.
And that doesn't matter if you're a doctor or if you're not a doctor. Any job.
Any jobs will not be handed. You have to apply effectively. You have to look for the job. You have to be successful in application. You have to entice your employer that I want to interview this guy. In the interview, you have to impress the interviewer, and only then you'll get a job. So now, yes, a lot of doctors are going to the UK, and a lot of doctors are passing PLAB 2. There is a huge rise of PLAB 2 getting GMC registration. In 2019, I think more non-UK graduates got GMC registration than UK graduates in the history ever. So yes, there is a lot of influx into the UK, but that is not going to suddenly fix the problem that the NHS has been having for years and years. That hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of application that is empty. So many hospitals are running short of doctors. I don't think within 1 year or even 2 years it will be all filled and get saturated, that as we all say. So it's my thinking, because I'm working in the hospital and I can see how we get asked to fill up the posts, or we have get asked to do extra work because there is not enough doctors. So yes, NHS is actively hiring, but there is nobody can say that within 1 year everything will be saturated.
We will say one thing. We do a series called Ask a Consultant. If you go through our videos and you see the interview with Dr. Anwar Qureshi, who came to the UK during a time where everyone said it was saturated, and he still got a job, and he's a consultant now in the United Kingdom. So if you're really concerned about what it could be like if it's saturated, just go through his video, because he talks you through the entire process of what he went through when it was actually saturated like 20 years ago. Yeah. So just keep that in mind, that it doesn't mean that you can't get a job.
He's a consultant now. So what happened to the saturation then?
Anyway, I'm really sorry that you failed PLAB 2. We have a post called What to Do If You Fail PLAB 2, where we kind of talk you through how you can reevaluate your approach. The one key thing to remember when you take the PLAB 2 exam is you need to be natural. And I know when people go to courses or academies, they can get really robotic. But you guys are doctors. You've seen patients before. These patients aren't any different. They may have a weird accent or something like that, but they're still patients and they have a problem, and they want you to help them with the problem. And that's what you need to remember. And of course, staying calm. The most important thing is to stay calm. Many jobs require foundation years completed as essential criteria. Being an IMG, we just have the FY1 equivalent. Would they consider application? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's even if this say it's essential, but I would say that go ahead and apply, because I remember I applied for an ST3 job where MRCP was essential. I got called back, but obviously I didn't go for the interview. So I think it was a mistake. Yeah. So don't think about what is the essential criteria or other things. Just think about the level that they're looking for. If they're looking for an FY2 level or SHO level or CT1 level, and you have not completed MRCP, you can go ahead and apply to that job.
All right. How possible is it for couples to get jobs in the same trust or city and during training?
But
very possible.
Very possible.
We got our non-training jobs in the same hospital, because when we applied for jobs, we applied in the same hospital. We worked in, because we both started off in A&E together. We worked in A&E together, and it was really interesting how our next medicine rota worked, because we had swapping departments. Like after my A&E rotation, I worked in hematology and then oncology, and Ibrahim was in stroke. And then when his rotation in stroke finished, he was in hematology, oncology, and then I was in stroke. But we were still in the same hospital.
And the thing is, if you get like a job in one of the trusts, say you applied on a got interview and your spouse didn't, and there is only say 2 or 3 doctors they will take, you can definitely ask the HR. You can ask the HR if it's possible to interview my spouse. Like they will definitely consider, and they consider it once. And when you apply for training, say you got a training in one area and you ranked, your spouse also ranked, but say obviously having similar ranking is not possible. Like maybe you are 300,
as close as possible,
maybe you're 300 in the ranking, and your spouse is like a topper, like say 50 or something. Obviously, your ranking, if you put preferences together, your spouse will get obviously higher than you are because you're 300 and your spouse is 50. So in that case, whoever the offer you both get, you'll have to think about which one is more doable, and the other person have to email the deanery, is it possible for me to switch, or is there any way I can get near to my spouse or anything. They will guide you.
They have
will
a
guide
whole
you.
system
They
for
have a
it.
whole in GP training. They have an already established system.
Yeah.
In IMT training as well, they really guide you, and they walk you through what you have to do, because once you get an offer, that's not final, because there is a reiteration of the whole
Yeah.
process. So you can change your preferences and wait for, because offer takes only 4 or 5 days. So you have to change that and match to one person. So it's not impossible. But if it becomes like that, then you can ask for an interdeanery transfer, join your training, and then talk to the deanery that my spouse in another deanery, is it possible for me to go to the deanery, or if any of that deanery wants to come to the UK, also wants to come to your deanery, swap is possible. So
worst case scenario, but I was saying worst case scenario, if you guys are in 2 different deaneries, find a city. If those deaneries are very close to each other, for instance, we work in the Peninsula Deanery, which is very close to Severn, which is another deanery. If you guys can find a city that's in between the 2 deaneries, then it's not actually a problem, because maybe you won't see each other in the same hospital, but at least you'll be able to, have a life. It's not that, one of you has gotten a spot in southwest England and the other one's gotten in northeast England.
or Scotland,
or Northern Ireland. That's very difficult to maintain.
So that is where the importance of coming preferences in. So you have to put very similar preferences so that things doesn't go very far. We did it together, so
we ranked
can
exactly the same.
Yeah.
How long is a clinical attachment before it's considered experience? So a lot of places will want GMC registration before you can apply for a clinical attachment. They recommend, if you want to do one, to at least do one for a month, 1 to 3 months. It's up to you.
I think I would say, as a rule of thumb, 3 months would be a good time for a clinical attachment.
Yeah.
Is there a question in Bengali, I see?
I will be graduating in 2022 and taking PLAB 1 in 2022 and then PLAB 2 in 2023, but then it'll be replaced by UCAMLA. How will that affect you? GMC has said that they will try and finish off all the candidates who start off in 2022 so that they don't get affected by UCAMLA, but they've not said anything more than that, so you just have to see what they say on the website. And PLAB 1 and 2 both have a 2-year validity, guys, so if you take PLAB 1 and you don't take PLAB 2 within 2 years, you have to take PLAB 1 again. All right. After PLAB 2, what do? You apply for GMC registration.
You apply for GMC registration online. You get approved GMC registration. GMC gives you a message that you got approved in GMC registration. Then you go ahead and apply for jobs. That's also online. So after you apply for jobs, if they call you for interview, you sit in front of a laptop or computer which has a webcam on. You give the interview, and then if you get selected for the job, that's also online. They email you a certificate of sponsorship, and then you apply for visa. That's after PLAB 2.
Detail on applying for CV and applying for jobs after PLAB 2. So we have an article about how to create your perfect CV that you can check out, or you can check out our free course about applying for jobs in the NHS, and we talk about all of that. Starting salary, if you check out our article on doctors pay in the UK, it has that label from whatever level of experience that you have, and then of course what level.
But as a rule of thumb, I can say at the top of my mind, as a junior doctor, after taxes and all the deduction, you are expected to get paid 2,200 to an upwards of 2,700 pounds per month.
Yes. And
so think about that as well. Like say, if you just have a balance like 2,500 a month, you'll be making as a junior doctor. So that also depends on where you live. Like, if you live in London, your expenses will be high. If you live in a small town or somewhere not London, your expenses will be low. So, but you'll be getting paid the same. Yes, there is a London waiting, but that doesn't increase the whole monthly income to a great extent, because your yearly London waiting can give you 3,000 or 4,000 extra. So that when it reduces down to monthly, that's basically £5 or £7 extra. So that's not that high.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
If you're worried about how to be a safe doctor, we do have an article about how to be a safe doctor. And you should check out GMC's practice about what they consider to be good medical practice. It's free on their website. They also have booklets at the GMC Center if you want to just go there and pick them up. But really, make sure you have medical indemnity and you have some sort of union backing like BMA, because it's very important to have people on your side. Yes, your hospital will cover you with their indemnity, but you should always have your own indemnity, because if God forbid something happens, the hospital will save themselves first and you second, because that's just how it works.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's necessary, I would say. It's according to GMC's guidelines that you have to have your indemnity, so you have to pay for indemnity.
If you do an elective in the middle of your internship, it'll be a gap. Don't do it in the middle of your internship.
But
it'll cause a gap.
but what if the internship accepts that elective as an internship?
That's up to GMC to accept them.
No, that's up to the hospital that's providing internship.
Yeah.
But I think that will just complicate things.
Just,
if your authority does not accept that elective as a part of the internship, then basically that's a gap. That's the thing.
We don't have any course on IELTS or OET, but we just have our general articles about how to prepare with our tips, and then of course my YouTube video talking about how I prepared with some tips.
So go to YouTube, go to RoTUK channel, search for IELTS video, it is In Focus IELTS. Then also in our website rotuk.com, if you we have search bar in different places, just go to the search bar and search for IELTS. We have an article called Preparing for IELTS, which Ibreez have written. We have multiple suggestions about speaking, writing, and all the other things what you can do to improve.
Yeah. And UKMLA will not replace MRCP or any of the postgraduate qualifications. It's only replacing PLAB.
Fine.
All the other routes for GMC registration, which we've talked about in our video, how to work as a doctor in the United Kingdom, will remain the same. It's just PLAB that will be replaced. Okay, guys, I know we're kind of running over, but I want to make sure we've got everyone's questions. All of the validity IELTS OET are all 2 years, but if they expire before your GMC registration, you're going to have to take it again, because you need a valid IELTS or OET for your GMC registration. Okay? If any of you are concerned what you can do if you're sitting at home right now, if you already have GMC registration, there are a lot of courses that you can do, like on ELFH. If you are working at home, you can do audits or quality improvement projects. We've talked about how to do those in our articles, and we've got a couple of videos covering it. We also have a really great course on our Road to UK Academy called the Crest and Portfolio, where you can see extra stuff that you can do for the time being.
I think the entire course basically I made with an intention that for a doctor who actually got GMC registration and started working in the UK, if you are in that position, I would highly advise go through that course, because that will guide you to each and every step how you can what you should do other than work to increase your chances of getting a crest signed, and also getting it quickly, and also increase your portfolio to make a solid application for whichever training application you want to do. And I can see that there's a lot many questions which are not pertinent to PLAB journey, and I think Ibreez has skipped those. So if you still have those questions and we have not answered them, you have always a way to reach us. In our Facebook Messenger, we always try to reply as soon as we can. You can comment on the relevant articles that we have written in our blog post, in our blog, and also you can comment on the related videos that we have posted.
We would recommend, though, going through our articles and videos first, because we can pretty much guarantee we've covered it. If we've not covered it, then you go ahead and ask us. It's not that we don't want you guys to ask us questions. It's just sometimes if you ask this question, and then we'll just give you an article.
Exactly. The thing is, if we're talking about PLAB journey, it's only logical to keep your questions related to PLAB journey. All right. I think that's it.
I think we've kind of covered everybody's questions in that sense. Really, guys, I hope we have kind of covered all your questions and what you would want to know about your PLAB journey. It really isn't something you should be totally stressed about, because there's a lot of people who can help you along the way. It's just about you making sure you know what you want to do and setting that goal in your mind and keeping that goal in front of you, and then proceeding towards that goal. Don't care what anyone tells you that you can or can't do anything, even if it takes you a couple of attempts to clear certain parts of the exam, or even if your GMC registration takes a little bit longer, or your job hunt takes a little bit longer. At the end of the day, it does not matter, because you get to the UK, you've got a job, and that's it. It doesn't matter if you're 25, it doesn't matter if you're 45. Do not let anything limit you for what you want to do. Just do it. Be like Nike.
Is it
No, it's not a product placement. It's just really, it's just what it is, guys. Like, don't stress out. If you're ever confused about anything, please go through our blog roll. If you're still super confused, we're trying to push out as many YouTube videos as we can, covering a lot of things, and we have a bunch of infographics for that reason too. And like I said, initially we have our group of forum for international doctors in the NHS.
Please join the group.
We have units. It tells you step by step what you need to do in case it gets really confusing.
And also we have like tags on the post so that you can keep track of whatever is happening. So even if you're not an international doctor in the NHS and you want to be in the NHS, just join the group, Forum for International Doctors in the NHS. And obviously, like our page in Instagram, we try to show,
put up photos of Right. Yeah, and of course, guys, subscribe. That would be cool.
Exactly. If you subscribe and put a bell on, because all our free courses that we're doing on our academy is basically updated on the YouTube. So basically, you'll be updated whenever we update it. We have a course running right now, which is called Postgraduate Training Pathway, which I'm making the lessons and everything. We're updating some of the lessons. We're already there, 4 or 5 lessons. We're updating the new one that will actually guide all the doctors about how to think about training pathway, where to find the information, and how to prepare. And also, as I said earlier, we will be coming out with a PLAB 2 course. It's a preparatory course which will be completely online, where we'll talk about the different aspects of the exam and all the other things. Just keep an eye out on the academy, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our channel. I think that's it.
And stay safe, stay home if you can. If you're working, still stay safe. Okay guys, thank you.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.